Hello.
Welcome to A Study in Sherlock, the podcast where we investigate the many faces of Holmes and Watson. Each episode will take a closer look at the actors who step into those iconic roles, what they bring, what they change, and what they reveal about the world's most famous detective partnership. We'll review classic films, groundbreaking TV series, forgotten radio dramas, stage performances, and even modern audio adaptations. Some will be brilliant, some less so, but all of them are part of the story because Sherlock isn't just one character. He's a performance, a legacy, a puzzle that's still being solved. Whether you're a lifelong Holmes fan or just stepping onto Baker Street for the first time, the game is afoot. Hello, Eric.
Hello,
Hello,
Bruce.
everyone. Welcome. I'm one of your hosts, Bruce McIntosh. I also host the Just the Runners podcast. And I am joined by Eric Harper. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Gladly, Bruce. It's nice to be back. I am Eric Harper. I am co-hosting with Bruce today on Study in Sherlock podcast. I am also the creator and host of Neighborhood Bookstore, which is an author interview podcast. Each episode, we take a book off the shelf at a local used bookstore. Usually it's from an author's back catalog. We read it, we analyze it, and then we discuss its creation with the author. So check it out, and check out Just a Runner. It's eye-opening.
Thanks. And we've been going just over certain, up till now, we were going, well, through our first three podcasts, we examined one actor at a time. Now we decided to, and we'll probably do this occasionally, we're doing a comparison of two movies, how they relate. What was different about this one is we picked two comedies, and there are many common Sherlock Holmes movies, not too many comedies. There's a few of the ones we didn't pick. There was also A Hound of the Baskervilles in 1978. It had Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. And Private Life of Sherlock Holmes is listed as a comedy. But we
we should do that one day. I wouldn't necessarily describe it as a comedy, although
neither did I, but when I was looking at something and they were listing Sherlock Holmes comedy, that came up. Yeah. And I was like surprised that was on the list. It has a few funnier moments, I guess, but I never thought of it as a comedy.
Yeah, Billy Wilder, the director, was very well known for doing comedy, but it's certainly not all he did. And I would say that one has a lot of different elements in it, but it's possibly primarily a drama with a little bit of satire built in. We'll come back to that one someday.
Yes, we will get around to covering that one. We picked one, I think, maybe comedy-wise, I think we picked one of the best and also one of the worst. What
are we discussing today?
We are discussing Without a Clue from 1988 and from 2018's Holmes and Watson. For Without a Clue starred Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley, has Holmes and Watson with a twist. And in 2018, you had Will Ferrell has Sherlock Holmes, and John C. Reilly has Dr. Watson.
Yep.
Let's take a look at Without a Clue.
Okay.
1988. They had a twist in here that's definitely changed things up. That John Watson was the genius, the detective. He was figuring everything out, and he hired an actor to portray Sherlock Holmes because he was selling the stories. And that's Michael Caine played an actor named Reginald Kincaid. What did you think of that twist?
I think it's an interesting take. And I guess let me give you a proviso first, Bruce, because there have been many different takes on Holmes and Watson, very traditional ones, and we've covered several of those already, beginning with Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. There are some very recent productions that are less traditional. Elementary with Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy Liu, and to a certain degree, Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, right? And my view of like unusual or oblique takes on Holmes and Watson is that there's always a lot of room for it, right? What I'm looking for is someone to show me that they understand Holmes and Watson. Okay. Um, Zone in on a particular element of the characters that are maybe not typically analyzed and examine that. Show me something new while demonstrating that you understand the characters. I'm not sure that I can take that same approach in analyzing a comedy. I feel like with comedy, like the rules are different. Now, that said, I enjoyed Without a Clue. How about you?
I enjoyed it, and I actually, when I rewatched it for this, I enjoyed it more than I remembered. I knew I liked it before. I actually, maybe getting older, my tastes changed or something, but I
Mhm.
did find it very entertaining. I did like the twist. I I forgot how good Michael Caine was as a comedic actor.
Yeah.
His timing impressed me. There was quite a few scenes where he would say something and realize he's wrong, and he opened the door. There was one scene he opened the door and immediately closed it, but he realized who was on the other side. And probably my favorite scene in the movie, he stops the train and he's yelling at Watson, Moriarty, he's trying to kill me. And then Watson explains to him, no, no, you were in my room. He's trying to kill me. He's not trying to kill you. He knows you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And then he comes down, oh, okay, well, that's great.
He's perfectly okay with that. Bruce, I had a very similar reaction. Like, candidly, I saw this movie when it came out in 1988. I was still kind of a kid, right? And it did not make much of an impression on me at the time. I remember watching it, and I have not seen it again. And so I made sure to rewatch it in advance of our conversation today, and I liked it much better this time. I think that maybe some of the humor, even though it's slapstick, is more appealing to an adult. And I'm right there with you. This was an interesting film because I've seen Michael Caine do comedy, and he's always been very good at it. But in a lot of those circumstances, he's playing a straight character in a
Yeah,
scenario that's funny. And in Without a Clue, he's actually playing kind of a buffoon, which I've never seen him do. And he did it very, very well.
yes, because he's playing a drunken actor.
Yep.
And there was one scene, oh, he just wanted to get through it so he could go get whiskey. Oh, let's have a drink of whiskey. Oh, no. No, okay, we'll get them. Now can we get the whiskey?
Yep. Yep. I
And
there this I have to give this film a lot of credit because every scene has a number of gags in it, right? So
yeah,
like as comedies go, they really really fill every moment. And every scene ends on a gag. And it could be wordplay or a pun or a misunderstanding or it could be slapstick comedy or physical comedy. Um but it's got it. I think my favorite moment was probably um at about the midway point when Holmes and Watson go to the lake country, all right, looking for the man that they think has the plates. And we deal in spoilers on this podcast. I'm going to try to not go into too much detail for if the audience wants to go back and watch it, they can. But Holmes and Watson go to the lake country. They track this person that they want to question down to a house that he has supposedly rented. Get there. He's not there. It's very, very dusty and cobwebby. It's clear no one has been there in years. And then the police burst in to tell them, we found so and so. And Holmes goes, who? And it's the guy that they've been looking for this whole time. So Reginald Kincaid playing Sherlock Holmes can't even keep track of basic facts. I really liked that. Um,
what about Ben Kingsley as Watson? I mean, you have he's a great actor. I remember seeing him in Gandhi in the theater.
yeah, it's very interesting to see him in this comedy on the heels of Gandhi, right? Because that was a big film, made a big splash. He like received tons of praise for that performance, and then to see him in this role was interesting. I liked the portrayal of Watson. Um, I think that he did a not. I think he did a very credible job. I think it was very interesting in this film to see um, a Watson that is much more a man of action, that is much smarter and more engaged in the circumstances that are happening. Um, and also, I was surprised by how funny Ben Kingsley could be. Also, because I've seen him play serious roles,
Yeah.
obviously with Gandhi. I've seen him play characters who are amusing but in a serious film, but I haven't seen him do a straight comedy before, and I really enjoyed his performance.
And I thought he was more of the straight man to Kane's
He
comedy.
was
He
there.
was for Lapa.
Yeah, there's an interesting dynamic in this film because obviously the conceit is that Watson invented a character named Sherlock Holmes for personal reasons. At a time, he thought it would be disreputable to be solving crimes as a doctor. He
Yes.
invents this character. The character takes off, and he winds up finding an out of work actor in Reginald Kincaid to play Sherlock Holmes. And it's very interesting because partly the tension comes from the fact that Kincaid is he's not only a buffoon, he's a cowardly individual, but who adores the limelight. So he's always looking to get more attention for himself as Holmes, even though he's not in any way up to the task of solving crimes.
No.
And Watson is like in this version is the Holmes that we know. Okay, he uses deduction and reasoning. Um, he's also a man of action. He's a steadfast character, and he's rankling at not getting the credit that he deserves. But at the same time, it's he's a very upstanding character, sort of a Dudley Do Right, like very earnest, very ethical. But in this world, he is not particularly charming. You know what I mean? So it's not simply that he created a false construct to hide behind. It's like he does not have the air of celebrity that the actor does, which is part of what makes Holmes so compelling to people in this universe, right? So they're rankling because of these constraints that they're under, but also because like they are frustrated with roles that they agreed to. So they have agreed to this situation, and all of their conflict is based on regret. You know, so I think that's hilarious because they chose this, they created this, right? And then a lot of the tension, but comedy comes from the fact that they try to unmake it, and they can't because society won't let them. Their roles have now been accepted, and people won't let them step out of their box. And inside
Yeah.
all of that is a slapstick comedy about Moriarty stealing the plates for the £5 note and things like that. It's a very interesting premise.
Yeah, I like the. I mean, as Sherlock, like when they were looking at the £5 notes, and he was just able to make it sound like he knew what he was talking about. He'd just agree with everything Watson said, like he had explained it to him. And
Yep.
when Watson went to the Strand magazine and told him he was going to get rid of Holmes and he'd be the uh, doctor detective or crime doctor, I think that's what he called himself.
Yep.
They rejected it immediately.
Yes.
um, Paul Freeman, I don't know if you recognize the name,
I sure do.
played Moriarty.
Yep.
He also played a bad guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was Rene Bellick.
Yeah. The
Uh,
villain of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
yes, he was the arch rival to Indiana Jones. And I also looked up and found out he played another villain, Ivan Ooze, in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers
Oh, that's
movie.
funny.
So he had some range at different villains, but has Moriarty. I thought that's actually my only low point. I didn't think he was a great Moriarty. Uh, I think maybe he was more of a comedic, maybe because maybe I just didn't take it the right way.
Yeah, I
Um,
would say this is far from a perfect film, you know, and I feel like his Moriarty is is a conniving character, but he is not. He doesn't come across as particularly dangerous. He doesn't come
No,
across more dangerous than your average James Bond villain, for example. And he doesn't come across as a genius that is equal, but the antithesis of Holmes as we understand it. You know what I mean? I thought he was an engaging character. I feel like Moriarty is there just to keep the very basic plot of this film going forward. But he
the,
didn't stand out to me as like the pinnacle of what that character should be.
no, he reminded me of, oh shoot, can't think of the guy's name now. There was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon where they had the guy with the dog who had the,
Oh my gosh, I agree. Snidely Whiplash. I can't
that
believe
must
I
be it.
remember that. Yeah, very
I
much
didn't want to
so.
mention the mustache with the handlebars to you, but as a villain, but not that
They're,
that's a
they're,
villainous thing.
they're evil mustaches and they're heroic ones. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And reminded me more of that than the classic Moriarty. I know this being a comedy, they didn't want him to probably be overly evil, but I thought he could have seemed more dangerous or more plotting or something. But
I agree. It's Without a Clue is interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm glad I watched it. Um, there are films that kind of like lose their luster over time just because they're of that time, and I feel like this take on comedy and on the story was timeless. Um, but it's not a perfect film. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it. If I recommend it, I feel like if you're a Sherlock Holmes fan, you can enjoy it. But if you don't know anything about Holmes, you can enjoy it. But the strange thing to me is that I'm trying to think of how to put this politely. It's not an expensive looking film, and I don't think that that's bad. But in terms of the way they shot it, it feels more like a television movie. Although this was a major motion picture release when it came out in 1988, and I'm not sure that the conceit that they came up with was really enough to carry a whole film. I feel like somewhere in the middle there were a lot of dog legs just to keep this movie going towards the climax, you know. But that didn't detract at all from my enjoying it. And what I will say is I feel like the writers, and this is probably the strongest point for me. Um, the writers are clearly Sherlockians because from like the very beginning, the entire first act of this movie is not only setting up the premise, right, but it's unpacking everything we know about Sherlock Holmes in a very funny way. So they set up a scene or a scenario that meets your expectations for what Holmes is, and then they turn it on its head. So there's a moment at 221 B Baker Street where Michael Caine, playing Reginald Kincaid, playing Sherlock Holmes, picks up a violin and he's playing it. And I'm watching it. I'm like, what is going on here? It doesn't even look like he's playing it. And then it pulls back to reveal he's not playing it. It's a phonograph. And like, it's a recording of someone teaching a person how to play the violin.
to pull that off for that time period, for that type of joke, was just, that was masterful. And I
Yeah.
did take a quick look online here, and the movie was written by Gary Murphy and Larry Strother.
Okay.
Stroh, excuse my pronoun. I probably butchered the last name. And it says, first thing it says about them is they're two devoted Sherlockians. So,
Okay. That
uh,
does not surprise me. It seemed like it was written by people who were knowledgeable about Holmes.
so I thought they put a lot of the Holmes and Watson's things in there. They had the Strand magazine. They had, you know, uh, obviously, like the pipe and the hat on Sherlock was perfect because he's being the imposter playing a character. He's an actor
Yeah.
portraying
It's a
Sherlock Holmes.
literal costume.
So that all made sense, and Watson solving the crimes and stuff, and they had Lestrade. And
Hmm.
I mean, overall, I didn't think of it as a TV movie. I thought maybe it was, but I know what you mean, that maybe it didn't look like it had the biggest budget for a
Yeah.
major motion picture.
Yeah. And that's not a disservice to the film. It's just like it's not, the filmmaking was not robust, but the acting and the storytelling is very entertaining.
Yeah, like I said, I thought Kingsley and Michael Caine played their parts great. That most of the actors I thought did wonderful in their parts. Other than that, the side characters, and
Yeah,
they did kind of do. I think they stretched out a few areas where they didn't have enough story to carry it the whole way and the whole joke.
yeah,
And the fact that in the end, Michael Caine, him and Watson had become Sherlock and Watson had become friends at the end, and he gave him some credit. And they did play him not as a total loser at the end because he was able to figure out the. Actually, they both figured it out wrong,
wrong. Yep,
but they got to the right place. So,
yep,
and his stage fighting of being at that time, most stage actors would have known how to fence.
yep,
I believe so. So
yeah.
him
It's
being able to fence with Moriarty made sense.
yep, yep. Very enjoyable, and also like there are a lot of like there's a lot of nice slapstick comedy with the closed theater at the end. Um, yeah, entertaining. It's funny that you mentioned the Strand, Bruce, and also earlier you mentioned Peter Cook, because Peter Cook is actually in Without a Clue, playing the editor of the Strand magazine.
I
So it's
didn't.
interesting to see him. Like this film is actually full of well-known like British comedy actors and character actors, and I thought it was interesting to see him. And like amazingly, I'm pretty sure that they used the real name for Arthur Conan Doyle's Strand editor from the 1800s. So Peter Cook was playing a character named uh, Norman Greenhuff. I could be wrong, but I think that's actually the editor of the Strand from the time.
I if you clicked on it, Herbert Greenhuff Smith was the first editor of the Strand.
Okay, so they used part of his name. That makes sense. Which
So
is good
yes,
because like the character, like everyone in this film, is kind of a buffoon, so you don't want to impugn the reputation of a real person. That's funny. And actually, even though he's only in a couple of scenes, Peter Cook has two like some of the best gags in this movie that I've seen. Um, which is not surprising because he was a comedian. It's to his credit. But in the original meeting with Dr. Watson, when he rejects the notion of replacing the Sherlock Holmes stories with John Watson, Crime Doctor, um, he more or less says that Watson is in danger of making a mockery of British literature. And as he says this, he walks up to a bookshelf that's covered in leather bound books as if to make his point. And then he opens it. The books are fake. It's a safe. And behind there is whiskey, which they start to drink. I really liked that. I thought that was kind of like just a classic bit. So, yeah, it's Without a Clue was funny. There are plenty of films from the 1980s that are at the same level of production and entertainment here. Um, you know, the movie Clue, based on the board game, comes to mind. Probably the same level of stardom, same type of comedy. The production values might be slightly better, but not much. And it's interesting because at least as a Gen X person, that is a film that 40 years later, everyone still has great affection for. And um, the only reason that I can think that a film like Without a Clue hasn't maintained the same like longevity or reputation is because it just wasn't on permanent rotation on HBO. I feel like a lot of us were watching these movies on television when we were younger. And whether it was HBO or just like the regular networks, if they got the license to a film, they would just show it over and over and over again. And I don't think that happened to Without a Clue. So, you know, it's a shame that it's kind of been lost to memory, except to Sherlockians and people like us, because it's worth watching, and you can find it for free if you want to.
it's currently on YouTube. That's how I watched it.
That's how I watched it too.
And you're right. I mean, it's not like there's Netflix or any of these other shows. I don't remember last time seeing it on anything, any
Yep.
streaming service where they were having it out there. Oh, watch this,
Yep.
the way they do. And I do remember how sometimes they would, HBO or whatever would get a movie, and don't worry if you miss it this time. There'll be
Oh yeah.
plenty of chances.
And if you come in at the halfway mark, don't worry, it's going to be on again. You can watch it from the beginning to the middle. So yeah, all in all, I enjoyed it. I don't think that my normal rules for how to analyze an unusual adaptation of Holmes and Watson apply here. It's definitely a different take. You know, I know that there are people out there that have very traditional tastes and they want the classic style of Holmes and Watson as conceived by Arthur Conan Doyle. All I'll say is I understand that. I just think there's 100 or 120 years worth of movies, TV show, radio, you name it, where you can get as much classic Holmes and Watson as you want. And the characters are robust enough that they can certainly withstand an alternate take like this one.
Yeah, I thought this was very good for a comedic twist
Yeah,
because, I mean, all
I was
right.
impressed.
So was I.
Does that bring us to our next film?
Yeah. Do we want to do this?
Do you know what? Let's just go for it.
Well, our other picture, Holmes and Watson, 2018, starring Will Ferrell as Sherlock Holmes and John C. Riley as Watson. Yes, they didn't have the twist of Watson being the more intelligent. They played it as a straight up comedy slapstick, and at the box office and everywhere else, it fell flat. Did not do well in the box office. Um Storyline, Holmes. I think the Holmes and Without a Clue was more intelligent than this Holmes
Oh
was
yeah,
portrayed.
Bruce.
Uh,
I'm just going to ask you. Let's cut to the chase. Did you like this movie?
I fell asleep.
Okay, I'm gonna
I
be straight with you. I could not make myself finish this movie. I
I
It's hard for me to walk away from a movie. I gave Holmes and Watson 30 minutes, and that's literally all I could stand. It was a very trying experience.
There's a scene where at the beginning you may have seen it, and they bust the bees open, and yes, I understand Holmes was a bee. That was his thing after he retired, but he would not have them in his house. And there was just so many things that had nothing, that made no sense from any point of view. They uh, they may had a scene where Watson. I had seen this one other time. I did rewatch it for this. Why I don't know. That like they had uh, Sherlock being sick around dead bodies. If you're going to be a detective, it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah,
That made no. There was a lot of things that made no sense.
I
And
think that by saying this film makes no sense, you're actually giving it way too much credit. I'll,
um,
so, like, I said that Holmes and Watson are robust enough to withstand alternate takes. I don't think that this is even really in any way an alternate take on Holmes and Watson. I mean, like, I think that calling it Holmes and Watson is like the most threadbare conceit. It's like a giant blank wall that they threw a wacky wall walker on and just like watched it crawl down for an hour and a half.
no,
There's no plot here. Like it's like I am not offended because it's in any way like a negative take on Holmes and Watson. I'm just offended because it is a very trying film to watch. It had like not only did it have no logic, it's all 100% comedic dog legs that don't add up to anything. It has that Will Ferrell thing where they're kind of breaking the fourth wall and that the story is completely unstructured. And also, this movie is just gross. There is a lot of gross stuff in here.
it did win an award.
Did it?
Yes, the 39th annual Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Picture. So it is award winning. uh, Part of me thinks, and don't get me wrong, that there was potential to make a good movie because John Riley and uh, Will Ferrell had been in a couple comedies before, did have successes that they are known to get to be together,
Yep.
and they even brought in one known good actor. Ralph Fiennes was supposed to be Moriarty,
Yep.
and they let him go at the beginning. And I mean, so I could see him playing a decent Moriarty
Yep.
from other things I've seen him in, not from this movie. Uh, so I didn't get why this didn't have wasn't have some potential, because I started thinking I'm seeing on the outside where you could have potential of a funny movie here
Yep.
with this, and I
Oh
just
yeah.
got lost. I was tired. Even the actor they had brought in Hugh Laurie from House to play Mycroft, and I'm like, that's not even a bad pick. I mean,
No, like it's a great cast, and there have been other films with Will Ferrell and John C. Riley that I enjoyed, and they're often in films that have a similar conceit where it's a very basic premise, and then it's just sort of like 2 hours of like not only riffing on that premise but taking dog legs, turning the premise on its head. You know, um, I am not averse to like unusual films like that. Like there are people who hate David Lynch for similar reasons, even though those are not typically comedies, but they are
no,
um, unusual. They don't have a standard structure. They don't provide the answers that most films do. Like I'm willing, but I do like Lynch, and I'm willing to concede that there's an audience for this film. But I am definitely not the audience for Holmes and Watson.
I don't think there's an audience for this film. I disagree with that.
Well, and you mentioned Ray Fiennes. Like it was not only great to see him, but his, like his brief screen time was so compelling. He didn't seem like he was in the same movie as anyone else.
Yeah, I look at him and I've seen him in other stuff. In the casting of him as Moriarty,
It's
even
brilliant.
I think it would make more sense to put him in a serious movie doing that as
I agree.
Moriarty. Um, I just the whole thing, like I said, I was really tired, and it would. I knew I shouldn't have put it on when I did, maybe, but then I ended up falling asleep, and I was like, should I go back and rewatch the ending? And I was like, no,
No.
it just wasn't worth it. I think the only person I thought they got right, actually, the Queen of England, Victoria. That's probably what she looked like, they acted like.
Right.
Uh,
Look, I don't believe in gatekeeping, and I don't believe in guilty pleasures. I'm sure there are people out here who love this movie and love the style of comedy. Like, I will never stand in their way. God bless you. Enjoy this film. You're watching it, so I don't have to. So, do you know what's weird, Bruce? The opening of this film sets up a very, very like unusual but solid premise that Sherlock Holmes became how he was because as a young boy at a boarding school, he was bullied and he decided that he would just put away emotion and replace it with pure intellect, logic, and reason. Right
yes,
now, I don't know how I feel about that as a take on Holmes, but for a foundational premise for an alternate take, it's interesting. And then they spent the next 30 minutes not exploring it at all. You know, in fact, they Will Ferrell plays adult Holmes as a very emotional person. So I don't know what they were talking about. You know,
yeah, that's almost I want to say a wasted scene, but the whole movie was full of them,
yeah,
and they had Watson show up. I mean, we of course they don't meet actually till they're older in my mind. Yeah, I know there's some takes where they change it around.
sure, there's room for that.
There was
Certainly.
a there was a young Sherlock Holmes back in the 80s that they played him,
Hmm.
played that they knew each other as youths, but that was the whole premise of the movie, I think, because they were. But yeah, I don't have anything good
Yeah,
to say about this movie. I didn't enjoy it. I
yeah.
think
Yeah, and I went into it with my eyes open. I knew the type of comedy this would be because I didn't have any expectation that Will Ferrell or John C. Riley were going to play convincing British people, never mind Holmes and Watson. So I understood that there was a conceit here. It definitely did not teach me anything new about Holmes and Watson. You know, um,
It could have made the likelihood of another Holmes comedy less likely.
probably, yeah. It was
Uh,
interesting though. You mentioned the scene with the bees inside the apartment at 221B Baker Street. You're right. It's ridiculous that the bees would be in the apartment. I did find it mildly amusing that the way that scene was played out was a direct callback to Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes films, right? Where they're,
yes.
except in the comedic conceit here, they're trying to kill a mosquito that has landed on a glass case full of killer bees. And Will Ferrell, as Holmes, picks up, I believe, a cricket bat to kill this mosquito. And he does like all of the deep geometric analyzing to kill the mosquito without breaking the glass, and it plays out very much the way Robert Downey Jr.'s analytical Holmes is portrayed in the Guy Ritchie films. So I thought that was an amusing callback, but it was odd to me that of all the things that they could have called back to in a Holmes and Watson comedy, they chose basically the most recent adaptation versus Without a Clue, which all of the callbacks, even though they're played for comedy and they turn the conceit on its head, are the classic Sherlock Holmes conceits.
Yeah, I don't remember too much callback to the classic or any other Holmes. Uh, I will. I think it's time to move on from that movie. I pretty
Fair.
much. I think when I started at the beginning, I said we picked what I thought was the best Sherlock comedy and the worst. So I didn't think you would disagree about the worst one. If we find a worse Sherlock Holmes movie in general than this, which I do hope we don't.
I
Uh,
really hope we don't.
I'm not saying that's impossible, but yeah,
Anything's possible. I've run out of thoughts on this film.
yeah, like I said, I thought there was I can remember thinking that this coming out. I I don't think they picked the right two leads. I don't think
It could have worked. It just didn't for me. And hey, look, if anyone is listening to this and you want to tell us why um, Will Ferrell's Holmes and Watson is a great movie, we want to hear it. If you think that there's a better or worse comedic take on Holmes, let us know.
All right. Well, we'll move on to our. Well, we can do recommends this month, this
I
time.
think that's a great idea. Do you know what's funny about this, Bruce? Right? We've done several episodes now, and they all consistently run an hour talking about one actor playing Holmes. And here we are talking about two films. And thanks to this 2018 Holmes and Watson, this might be our shortest episode.
We're not done yet.
Okay. Well, I've got a recommendation this time. You inspired me. Do you?
I got something. Go ahead.
All right. So I didn't bring a recommendation last time. I was relying on you. I actually have one now. I pulled this off my copious bookshelves behind me. So my recommendation is a book. This is Sherlock Holmes Was Wrong by Pierre Bayard. All right. This is a nonfiction book. It is an entertaining critical analysis of The Hound of the Baskervilles. And author Pierre Bayard makes the case that Holmes didn't get the right guy. And it's a very interesting take because it kind of like sets aside the notion that the Hound of the Baskervilles is a work of fiction, and it delves in a lot as though like analyzing whether the clues that were presented to Holmes, whether he read them accurately. And the book suggests that there was a much better candidate for the villain of Hound of the Baskervilles than the one that Holmes and Watson identified. So if you're a Holmes fan and you want an interesting analytical take, you might enjoy this. Sherlock Holmes Was Wrong. reopening the case of the Hound of the Baskervilles. And besides that, it's a fairly short book. It's under 200 pages, so you can read it. You don't have to agree with Bayard. But I sure thought it was a fun thing to do.
I I think that sounds really interesting. I may have to look into that.
Yeah.
Definitely, but I can't imagine Sherlock being wrong. But no, he actually did lose some cases. But I do think
It is interesting to approach it like from the perspective that perhaps Sherlock Holmes got something wrong, because I mean, at a very basic level, Sherlock Holmes does not exist. He is a fictional character inside a world created by Arthur Conan Doyle, and Arthur Conan Doyle sets up all of the machinations inside every story. So, can it be wrong? Can it even be solved improperly if it's not real? I don't know, but that's part of what made this so interesting and entertaining to me, that you could take it and be like, I know that this is a work of fiction, but I think the detective got it wrong.
well, mine's a little different than yours.
All right, what have you got,
I
Bruce?
didn't bring a book this time.
All right.
I brought Legos.
Amazing.
I know a lot of people are listening, can't see it, but I did get the Sherlock Holmes Lego set. I actually put it together. Well, it was a while ago now, and if you like doing it, this is my only Legos I've gotten as an adult. But they were much different when I was younger, and
Yeah, that looks like a very elaborate set.
yes, there's many Easter eggs within the set. And for anybody on YouTube, I'll hold this up.
Oh, that's amazing.
See if I can get it close enough.
Do you know what,
But
Bruce? I think I have seen this at Barnes and Noble. Does that fold up like it?
yes, it
go on a
does.
bookshelf?
You can. I gotta be careful here because I don't know if I could get back together.
Oh, amazing.
And you could look at it like this. Well, you can look at it this way if you wanted to keep it folded up.
Interesting. Yep.
And
So it
it
folds
does
up
come with
almost like a book. It can go on the bookshelf.
yes, and there's a Sherlock and Watson, Moriarty, Irene Adler, Billy the Paperboy, or I think they call him. I forget what they said in there. And within
But
the
really
windows,
one of the Baker Street Irregulars.
yes, in one of the windows you can see a violin, and there's other objects from different cases throughout
That's
there.
amazing. And it's clearly 221B Baker Street.
Yes, It did take me a while to get it all together. Like I said, it's my only Lego set ever. Unless they come out with another Sherlock Holmes one that would fit with this, I don't know if I'd have to find something else to fit in Victoria and London if I did another Lego set.
Amazing.
But
That's
I've
a
seen
great recommendation.
few of these where they're the book type that they fit together like this, and
Yep.
that's a,
Do you know what? I can't think of the term, and I apologize. There's a name for that where you have something that is like a miniature setup that you can put on a bookshelf and look into, and it has depth. And that's partly what I think that they're trying to recreate here. So you can have it stand up and be forward facing, and it's a street scene, or you can have it folded up and you can kind of look down Baker Street. That's very interesting.
yes. I was trying to see if there was a name on here for it, but I don't see it. But you could set it up, put it on your bookshelf like that if you wanted to. It even says Baker Street across the top here. You can't.
Oh, I can see it.
Up there it does say Baker Street, so you have that row there.
It's an interesting set. If anyone's listening to this, pop on over to YouTube and take a look at the 47-minute mark. It's a very cool set.
And so that's my recommend. If you want something fun to do, a way to show off how much you like Holmes and Watson, actually, I think I didn't. I bought it like last summer shortly after it came out. I had to have it, and it took me a while to get around to putting it together. I think I was off work for a little while, and that was the perfect time to do it. but it's a very interesting set, and there's a lot of little things in there from the different stories. Some of them are hidden in the windows and stuff. So that was my recommend.
That's very
Uh,
cool. I have to commend you. That's a really cool recommendation for an episode where we're discussing some non-traditional takes on Holmes.
yes. All right. Uh, well, I think that'll tie it up. We did it under an hour.
Yep. I'm proud of us. We can thank Will Ferrell for that.
We can't guarantee we're going to stay under an hour in the future, but we did this time.
Yep.
And well, I'm just going to thank you for everybody for listening. If you can, share it and rate and review us. Maybe get some more people listening. And
Yeah, we appreciate honest reviews, just like we gave these movies.
all right, the game is afoot. And